What up, what up, what up? What up, what up? What up, y'all? How you doing? Robin Lundberg Show. A little earlier today. Apologies again anytime but we're in the same window. I consider the same window a win from this point on because I have a thing I got to take care of for my son in a little bit. And I've been running around from the wedding. We left. Our flight was at, what time was it on Friday? 6 a.m. on Friday and then 10 a.m. yesterday. 10 a.m. doesn't sound that early, but it is early when the flight is, you're into Daytona Beach and the flight is out of Orlando. So, been running around, running ragged and all those things. But I figured had to do a live show after yesterday's events, after the Indiana Fever beat the Las Vegas Aces. Later in the day, the Lynx and the Mercury, the Lynx win that one. We'll get to that in a second. All in a day where A'ja Wilson is presented the MVP, her fourth MVP, which is a record in the W. But as much as A'ja did win that MVP, Kelsey Mitchell kind of said, I'm the MVP now. That's the way that went down. She cooked the Las Vegas Aces. They had absolutely no answer for Mitchell, who's been as good as anyone in these playoffs. And at the same time, Aaliyah Boston kind of neutralized A'ja, who really struggled. And now the Aces are in trouble. They're in trouble because they don't look like they can keep up with Indiana up and down the floor. And all of a sudden, we're dealing with a Fever team that could be going to the finals. Who could have believed that without Caitlin Clark? Now, on that topic, while we're discussing it, before I get deeper into all of this, I mean, that's going to be something that comes up a bunch. So might as well address it right now. I would have never in a million years thought the Indiana Fever would be a real threat to make it to the WNBA finals without Caitlin Clark. In fact, I would have laughed in your face. But Stephanie White deserves a ton of credit. Obviously, Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell has been completely electric, and it shows you the foundation, the core, and the character of the team. Now, when Caitlin Clark gets back, you're talking Dynasty. We have already seen what Clark and Mitchell can do together. We've already seen what Clark and Boston can do together. That is the best core in the sport, and it is not even close. And the numbers actually show they were better, of course, with Clark on the floor than without her this year. But the fact that they've been able to persevere to this point with her not even playing says, look out, WNBA, for the next however many years. I mean, that's the way I would actually look at that. Of course, any, haters and whatever are going to latch on to narratives and spin them in a certain way. And that comes with the territory, because I'm shocked that they're in this position without Caitlin Clark as well. But, look, they got a lot of good players on this team, and they got a lot of pros on this team. And you got, someone like Odyssey Sims coming up and stepping up in the midst of all of this at the same time as well. So what can you say but congratulating the Indiana Fever on what they've done this year? I mean, again, A'ja going out there and getting her MVP award, right? Like, I mean, here's the look at the presentation. This is what it looked like. If you guys haven't seen it, the MVP award for A'ja Wilson yesterday. Congratulations. So, you had that moment before the game where A'ja gets the MVP, and then you had the game itself where the Fever just cook. And they had the Aces on their heels the entire time. Leah Boston, as I mentioned, her defense was excellent. She just really had A'ja in clamps basically the whole game. Because in the last series against Connecticut, you had like Brianna Jones, who physically can push Aaliyah Boston around, or at least, they're both battling for position. In this series, A'ja is not as strong that way. And Aaliyah was able to hold her ground on so many of these occasions to force harder shots like that one. That was kind of the story of the way she defended A'ja yesterday. And, a lot of mid-ranges, and that's kind of A'ja's bread and butter. But, Wilson also relies on getting to the foul line a lot. And for the most part, the Fever were able to not be put themselves in compromised position when it comes to the whistles in the game. And, look, it goes both ways too, right? Lexi Hull was playing really hard defense, and some people put together this TikTok. She runs into there. I don't think that's a no call to me. But, a lot of contact. That could be an illegal screen. On the other side, just bowled over. That's probably a foul on Asia. And that's a testament to Lexi Hull and the toughness that she brings to the team. I forgot to mention her in that core spiel that I did a minute ago. Lexi Hull is obviously a part of this Fever core, along with Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell. That's kind of the core four, right? Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, Aaliyah Boston, Lexi Hull, core four for the Indiana Fever. And 3 of the 4 are shining right now without CC on the floor. Lexi Hull has competed her tail off. Kelsey Mitchell has cooked and flame broiled every opponent. And Aaliyah Boston has done a little bit of everything. And that's why the Fever have been able to surprise everyone at this point. And, that's the situation that they're in right now. 2 games away from going to the WNBA finals. Just 2 games away. Like, that is kind of hard to believe. Here was Kelsey Mitchell on being believed in, which I thought was a nice message that she shared yesterday after her big game.
Steph always cries on camera, but I never had a coach. I cry off camera because I really never truly had the company, the culture, the organization that I have been surrounded by the last couple of years. It's big for us because I've never had that. I've never seen it. And so to feel value and to feel like somebody's pouring into me and seeks out my value, it's everything to me because I'm a loyal person and my loyalty is in my character. It's something I truly value, and to know people believe in me, y'all gotta know what that feel like because it was for a long time nobody did, and my dad was the only one. And so when you lose somebody and then you find somebody else that can replace that, it's big for me.
So you can see how much this all means to Kelsey. And a few things. Kelsey's kind of been ignored a little bit, historically, where in the past, I remember when Juju Watkins passed Caitlin Clark for most points scored at a certain point through their college careers. Everybody ran with that like it was the record, but the record belonged to Kelsey Mitchell. In fact, the record still belongs to Kelsey Mitchell, unfortunately, because Juju got hurt. So she hasn't gotten, that level of attention. For the most part of her career, she flew under the radar, of course, and was on losing teams. It wasn't until Caitlin Clark came into town that more of an emphasis was put on the entirety of, what she's able to do. And they did it in tandem last year, Clark and Mitchell. If you remember, after the All-Star break, after the Olympic break, this was at one point a screenshot of their stats. You look at that, it doesn't get any better than that in conjunction. Clearly the most fearsome sight I think that an opponent can see in the WNBA when it comes to a backcourt on the other side. But in some ways, this has to be special to Kelsey Mitchell. She would never have asked for it to unfold this way. But to have the focus kind of on her, to be the focal point, to be the one that is being talked about afterwards, being singled out all at the top of the scouting report, all those things, and then answering the bell over and over again, it's been really special. And when you talk about, the way that Stephanie White has obviously made her feel, and I think the way that the Fever organization has made her feel, there was probably a time where it was in doubt that Kelsey Mitchell would remain with the Indiana Fever. Certainly there was chatter about it. There was chatter about it before she re-signed this year. Now, it's hard to believe or hard to foresee Kelsey Mitchell wearing any other uniform but the Fever's. And I think that's a testament to the way she's been treated, the way she's been made to feel. And then, of course, she's gone out and taken care of business and done her part in the equation. So salute to Kelsey Mitchell. Salute to the Indiana Fever. It's wild to think about this team only a couple games away from the WNBA finals and with a championship actually a possibility. Now, when it comes to that championship possibility, I do have to say, I don't see anybody beating the Lynx. You know, I could be accused of counting the Fever out again here. And I certainly wasn't counting the Fever out against the Aces, by the way. I was not that surprised by the outcome yesterday. I'm surprised that the Fever are where they are, but I'm not surprised that they beat the Aces head-to-head. I mean, I like the way I said before the playoffs, I like the way they matched up with the Aces more than I like the way they matched up with the Dream. And the Aces were this close to losing to the Seattle Storm. Let's not forget that. Somebody gets mad when I open these on camera. Sorry. So I apologize to whoever that was in the comment section the other day. My bad. Anyhow, the Aces were flirting with losing to the Seattle Storm. They were, Erica Wheeler had put the Storm up in that series with a minute or so, whatever the time was, under a minute to play, whatever it was, before the Jackie Young putback put the Aces back up. So that doesn't shock me. What would really surprise me is anybody beating the Lynx, because the Lynx have been the best team all season. They look like the best team still now. They've got this revenge tour mentality. Obviously, Nafisa Collier is going to be motivated, having not won the MVP. I mean, let's look at the MVP voting for a second. This is how it actually broke down. As you can see, Asia Wilson with 51 of the first place votes, 18 only for Collier. Maybe people thought it would be closer. Certainly at a different point in the season, it was closer. I'm not even saying this is wrong, but it can be used as motivation. And Kelsey Mitchell got no first place votes, no second place votes, no third place votes, a decent chunk of fourth place votes, and then a lot of fifth place votes, which probably goes to show you she was the fifth pick on the all WNBA teams because Alicia Gray was here. And Kelsey Mitchell probably deserves some more votes in some of these other sections. As far as Asia, clearly she won going away. So when you look at the Lynx and they feel like they had the title stolen from them last year, and Nafisa Collier now has this MVP motivation, and you just look at their roster. I mean, head-to-head, Indiana's actually played Minnesota well. They beat them in that Commissioner's Cup game. If you remember, that would be a rematch of the Commissioner's Cup final if the Fever and the Lynx do make it. And before this stretch where the Fever have, really done well, it was the Lynx games that sort of set them up there, right? The Fever played against the Lynx. Let me look at the Fever's schedule. A couple times before the final stretch of the season. And they lost 95-90 and 97-84. Both of those games were competitive. That's before they beat Seattle and Los Angeles. Then they dropped to Valkyries and Phoenix, and then they won their last three, including over Minnesota, the last game of the season when everybody was resting. But I feel like those Lynx games in the 22nd and the 24th of August would probably be indicative of what a series would look like, just because of the matchup problems that the Lynx provide with their size across the board. On the, inside, they've got a bunch of bodies to throw at you. And then on the wing, on the outside, they're a little bit bigger because, you've got the likes of McBride and the other players out there. But then you stack them up inside. So I feel like it's just going to be tough for anybody to beat Minnesota at this point. And ESPN's projections and formulas all back that up. I mean, look at this right here. This is the power index. To make the finals, the Lynx have a 94.4% chance, and to win the title, almost an 80% chance. Fever are second now at 11%. So ESPN's only giving the Fever an 11% chance to win the finals, even where they're at. That's because of who the Minnesota Lynx are. And this isn't any of their writers or anything. I know the writers have been picking against the Fever the whole time, and that's kind of become a running joke. But as far as the rest of it goes, it's tough to see anybody beating Minnesota, to me. This almost feels like a Lynx coronation in progress. But again, who's to say what the Indiana Fever can or can't do at this point in time? I wish Caitlin Clark was on the playoff roster. That would make the subplots a little interesting too. because apparently she can't, for those of you who asked, she can't come back because she wasn't on the playoff roster. So even if she was healthy, she wouldn't be able to come back at this juncture and this point in time. So that's kind of where we're at. That's where we sit. Get to the comment section in a minute. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to hit. There was what they never mind. I don't want to get myself down the rabbit hole there. Like and subscribe, get those comments in, member chats, super chats, go first. As always, like I said, your thoughts, how you're feeling, what you're picking. You know, I was at that wedding this weekend. Do I have any shouts to my boy Vega, congratulations. The only moment of drama came when my son Raj was at home trying to log on to the WWE ESPN thing. He couldn't figure out how to get in and was panicking. And that was like a thing I had to come through and solve, even though ESPN itself only gave the WWE WrestlePalooza PLE a C. It was the first ever WWE PLE on ESPN. So that, that was a stressful bit of moment, an aside to make sure, because I just picture myself on the other side of it, right? Like I picture myself on the other side of how that was going down. And I just know like the stress he was feeling, not being able to watch WrestlePalooza. We eventually got him in. He did not really like the show though. He was with ESPN. It sucked. WrestlePalooza was terrible. This is his text to me. Cena versus Brock mid. Usos versus Braun great. EO versus Stephanie good. AJ and Punk versus Seth and Becky good. Drew versus Cody terrible. Worse than Clash in Paris. Worst PLE of the whole year. So we might have to get his review up on the Ring Rascals channel. I actually recorded a short on what I thought of the Brock Lesnar John Cena decision before, or the booking before this show. But we'll get to the comment section now. Let me know what you guys thought. Anything else you want to hit on? All on the table. Member chats, super chats, go first. Athena says, fantastic win. Not surprised. We handled them pretty well the last two games. Yeah, they made that Becky Hammond comment about like they haven't seen the real aces yet. Look kind of silly, right? That certainly looked pretty silly. If you don't remember, this is what Becky Hammond said going into this series. Let me find it. Yeah, here it is. Oh, people are going to yell at me for sourcing this account, so let me find a better one. So yeah, this is what Becky Hammond had to say.
We kind of can't dwell on it too long. We got to move right on to Indiana is what they're telling me.
You actually just referenced it twice. It is Indiana. Dropped 2 of the 3 games to them this year, but you haven't seen them since late July. What excites you about that matchup?
That they haven't seen the real aces yet. They caught us when we were a bit in turmoil. Not only that, they whooped us one of those stretches. So, you know what? We'll buckle in, hone in where we can, and take care of business. But I know everybody's super excited about tonight, which I am too. But like, I gotta get our hard hats on and get these guys prepped and ready for what's coming next.
You know, the real aces yet. Well, they saw whatever version of the aces was yesterday and didn't really have too much trouble with them. Didn't really have that much trouble with them, Becky. Not too much trouble. Kentucky Rick says, haha, an L for MVP. That's funny. Yeah, I kind of tried to pull that off deadpan. Hopefully that worked. Look, Asia really struggled. Asia really struggled yesterday. The broadcast was trying to blame her winning the MVP in the start of the game. The broadcast was a little Vegas heavy yesterday, it felt like. But Asia just 6 of 22 from the floor. She did have 16 points and 13 rebounds, but only 16 points on 22 shots. That's horrible efficiency. Leah Boston really did a good job against her defensively. And Asia was missing. Everything was in the mid-range, basically, for her. She didn't shoot it that well. And it kind of looked like the Aces team that we saw closer to the beginning of the season than the one that won 17 games in a row. And Stephanie White has devised great defensive game plans for these teams. I mean, you have to credit the Fever defense. They've been excellent. And that's the coach, right? Like, the coach has really, really gotten this team focused on their, they got them focused on their specific opponent and how to D them up. I got Kelsey Mitchell fever. Yeah, I mean, look, Kelsey Mitchell she's cooking. She's cooking. There's no question. She's been absolutely awesome. I mean, there's no other way to put it. I mean, she's been brilliant. And I said it before, I really believe this. I think the two most exciting players to watch in the sport are on the Indiana Fever. Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, full stop. When it comes to just ball in their hands, what they can do, you forget with Caitlin because she's been out for so long, but obviously everybody talks about the logo threes. And to me, her playmaking is what separates her to a significant degree. But then there's Kelsey Mitchell and her ability to shift, her ability to get up and down the floor, her ability to get to her shots. It's captivating to watch. It is. AV says, Iowa rookie CC or the Steph WCC next year. Stephanie White may probably be emboldened to make CC play that defensive and stand in the corner style. Go KM and Fever. Stephanie White has proven herself in the WNBA as a great coach. Caitlin Clark is obviously a big fan of Stephanie White. They're going to figure that out. Iowa CC is amazing and rookie CC is amazing, but rookie CC also played well with Kelsey Mitchell. So it's not like she didn't play well with Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston, but some combination of that. I mean, like, Iowa was overly reliant on CC. And I think, you could still see Caitlin Clark's game shine. Even that stretch, this is what makes that stretch right before she got hurt the last time, right before the groin injury against Connecticut. And I know they didn't play great opponents, but they did play Atlanta. And the way they smacked Dallas before smacking Atlanta, or right after, smacking Atlanta. They lost that game to Golden State, but then Caitlin didn't even shoot the ball well, and they beat Atlanta by 17. And then they just smoked Dallas. And Caitlin had 13 assists in that game. That, to me, was the Fever team, that could beat the Lynx. As is, I don't know if I see that. That's the difference, with Caitlin on and off is with her. I think they could beat anybody. And without her, obviously they can beat almost anybody, as they've shown. Crank that 22. Fever has been dealing with adversity the whole season. Anything they see in the playoffs are not going to phase them. I think that's why they're dangerous. Yeah, I mean, look, yeah, there's nothing that... What could you possibly throw at the Fever to derail them at this point? What could you possibly throw their way? There's almost nothing. This is a team that's seen everything, been through everything, done everything. Got a comment from Saudi Arabia. What's going on? Sorry. Member chat, super chats go first. Um, I'm going to put this up on the screen just because you're becoming like Scott Agnes now, denying what Stephanie did to Cece. Well, Cece got hurt, y'all. That's what happened. Stephanie didn't do anything to Cece. Now, I do think there was a bit of a patch where they were trying to figure out the balance. But when Cece was back, even limited, the Fever looked awesome at the end. And these conspiracies and almost like even like the cult-like defense, it's enough. I mean, I know a bunch of YouTubers and podcasters and the like have fed into that rage bait all season. And it's kind of just been an echo chamber, right? Like, it's like, Stephanie White's terrible, blah, blah, blah. They did this to Clark, blah, 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 every game. Now, I'd like to see them try that now. But I'm just telling you what, I wrote a whole article early in the season on Indiana Fever on SI about what I saw as like sort of a philosophical back and forth between the two on the balance of Clark off the ball, Clark on the ball, playing Clark's style, whatnot. But, people were talking about the Fever playing slow. The Fever play faster than anybody. It's not even close, just to my naked eye, at least at this point. That's what everybody talks about. And then, Caitlin, it's okay for Caitlin to adapt her game. That's a good thing. Great players adapt. They get better that way. Caitlin Clark will become a better player if she becomes a better player off the ball. She will become a better player if she becomes better. And I think actually Caitlin's pretty good defensively, a lot better than people give her credit for, but she can improve there. She becomes a better defender, a better screener, a better player off the ball, all those things. She then becomes a better player because the stuff that she always does, she could do in her sleep. And you can go to that at any time. But I think they were experimenting early in the season, trying to figure out what was the best balance. And they obviously would have, made it happen. Twofold says nobody talks about fitness. I think the Lynx, Fever, and the Valkyries push the tempo, have the energy for 4 quarters. The rest, mostly 1/2 and a little. Yeah. I mean, I just think about with Caitlin, I think they would walk to the finals. But as is, who would have thought? It's a great story. It's a surprise. There's no question. I'm not going to tell you I thought I saw this coming. Definitely didn't. I wasn't shocked by yesterday, but the series of events that have led to this, for sure. For sure. And look, I mean, this is the kind of season you build on because you know who's a part of your future. You know you've got stars. Kelsey Mitchell, Aaliyah Boston, Caitlin Clark. Let's add Lexi Hull as part of that core. Not necessarily a star, but certainly a star within her role. And you've got a coach in Stephanie White. And you've got the popularity of the team. And you've got, you see what happened with Sophie Cunningham. And you've got the culture that has allowed players to come in and out and the team to not miss a beat. So when it comes to free agents, how is that not desirable? And when it comes to the foundation you're able to build upon, people are going to be sick of the Indiana Fever running the league. That's essentially a guarantee. I mean, that's what you're looking at with the Fever right now. Definitely the best core in the league, without question. I mean, how could you even possibly say anything else? Start of a dynasty. And, look, getting there, you saw what happened with the Lynx. Even if they don't get over the hill, if they don't climb the mountain, what happened with the Lynx is indicative of how that can motivate you going forward in not winning. Get those likes and subscribes in, y'all. A few more minutes here. Member chats, super chats go first. New practice facility somebody brought up. That will definitely factor in as well. It's apparently National Ice Cream Cone Day. So there's that. Who doesn't like a good ice cream cone? That's universal. We can't all agree on many things, but I think most people can agree that an ice cream cone is delicious. That can be. Oh, I got trivia in here. I missed this one, Sam. Who was the Undertaker manager when he made his WWF debut at Survivor Series 1990? Brother Love, bro. I remember watching that on Coliseum Home Video with my brother. And what was it? Roddy Piper said, "Look at that big ham hock there." About the Undertaker. So there's that. But yeah, that was before Paul Bearer became his manager. I think that's correct. You always like when you know something and you answer it in a trivia, but then you have time to doubt yourself about things you already know. You get to the bottom. Was indeed Brother Love. Member chats, super chats, get them in. Appreciate that. Thank you for those of you who have already participated. He was on the $1 million team, by the way. Sorry, I can't help but blend some of that stuff. Sometimes it is what it is. You can take it or leave it, but it's my show. So I'll talk about what I want to talk about. But yeah, the fever, I just wanted to make sure I got one in today, fresh off the travel and the wedding. You might be able to see, didn't rest all that much this weekend. So I think we will see the Commissioner's Cup final repeat, not a coincidence. The Lynx, the top favorite, choke again against all odds. Wishful thinking, but I do believe it. The Fever win. Yeah, I mean, look, it's possible. It's possible. It certainly can't. Who could possibly count the Fever out at this point? That's a fool's errand to count the Fever out. But the Lynx they look like, every way you can measure things, the Lynx have been the best team by quite a bit this season. And ultimately, sometimes I feel like that's just what it is. I mean, the regular season, they had the best net rating. They were the best offense. They were the best defense. They've they pulled away from the Mercury team that's obviously pretty damn good. They're motivated. They got a great coach. They got a star player. They've got a balanced roster. They've got size. They've got a bench player who comes in and does things. It's tough to dismiss the Minnesota Lynx. I mean, the Fever did get him in that Commissioner's Cup game. That's true. I mean, and the way the Fever are playing, the way they're coached, I mean, sometimes these things like, magic can happen. But the fact that the Fever even mentioned in this conversation is wild. Right? Like, that's wild. Jay Ali's had a lot of comments that Natasha Howard is staying in some sort of capacity. Let me shout out a couple of the other players for the Fever who I thought contributed. Natasha Howard has played very well as of late. 12 points, 11 boards. Odyssey Sims was excellent in that, in that game. The Aces were giving Odyssey Sims looks, and she was taking them, and she hit them. And that was big. I mean, even KK Timpson got a few minutes of burn and did all right with her time on the floor. And Bree Turner, continues to play well. Carrington is out for the remainder of the playoffs, I believe. She is. But I never was really factoring her into my assessment of the Lynx at the, in all this. It's not based on them having Carrington. And the Lynx have a great, whatever you think of Cheryl Reeves, she's obviously a great coach. Get those member chats, super chats in. A couple more minutes. Like, subscribes, all that good stuff. Appreciate y'all. Got to hop on a thing coming up in here in a few minutes. But I'll give you a chance to weigh in. Anybody else? One less weapon, but agree they have many. Again, if you see some of the same faces, that's because they're members. It's like the Fast Pass at Disney World. Try to provide some advantages. No Dynasty talk. Don't jinx them. Oh, well. I mean, I thought that before this year, too. So I thought it might start this year. Hell, it still could start this year. But I don't know how you see it any other way with the Fever, with the talent they have. And you would think, like, all right, what could stop them? Injuries or whatever. Well, injuries haven't been able to stop them this year. So, all things considered, it's already been a success. Everything else is gravy. They're playing with house money at this point. Right? They're playing with house money. And right now, that's cashing in. All right, y'all. That'll do it for today. Unless we get any more member chats, super chats in the next 90 seconds or so. But wanted to make sure I ran a live, given the Fever not only are still alive, but thriving. We're past the point of their staying alive and keeping on. Now you've kind of switched that mind state from they're hanging on and they're pushing through and they're fighting through to what can they do? What can they still accomplish? I mean, I did not have it in my plans. Let's put it that way. I did not have it in my plans to still be talking about the Fever playing in the playoffs at this point, or the Fever possibly going to the finals, or, making plans around that. Did not have that on my bingo card. We'll see what happens on Tuesday night. The Aces, if the Aces don't win on Tuesday night, this series is a wrap. Aces need to win that game. But if if the Aces do win it, then it's probably a bit of a toss-up series. But at the same time, who would have thought that at all? And Indiana was almost 10-point dogs, 8.5-point dogs yesterday. So that certainly qualifies as an upset and doesn't leave fans of Indiana and the Fever upset. Some of the other fan bases, definitely. Every time the Fever, anything good happens for the Fever, Caitlin Clark tweets, whatever. There's crash out sessions all across the board. Until the next one, y'all. Yeet.